Shout out to G-Man Boxing.
Dave Allen recently gave an interview with TalkSport, and in that interview he gave his thoughts on the heavyweight division, more so the upper echelons, the Dillian Whytes, the Anthony Joshuas, the Tyson Furies. With regards AJ Fury, alright, he has said that he feels that this fight won't happen, certainly not at least this year. Now, Dave Allen, the man of 1,000 slurs, he's not really given any insight as to why. He just says he just doesn't think it'll happen. I'm the polar opposite. I believe it'll happen this year. Where remains to be seen. Probably Dubai or somewhere like that. But in terms of it happening, I suspect it'll happen this year. And again, like, he didn't really go into detail as to why he doesn't feel it'll happen. He just said it won't happen. All right. But the interesting thing here is what he said about Dillian Whyte. And I'm going to quote Dave Allen directly here, but he is basically saying that he cannot see Dillian Whyte, certainly not in this era, becoming heavyweight champion, given the fact that AJ and Fury are the top guys. I'm going to quote what he said here. In the era he's in, with Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, I don't envisage him being heavyweight champion of the world. He's a world-class heavyweight. He's just around at a time where AJ and Fury are the two special fighters around. So that's the end quote. That's what he said to TalkSport. Dave Allen as a fighter I've criticised plenty on this channel. Justifiable criticism as well. I actually believe he'll come back, and judging by what he's been saying on Instagram, I reckon that's the case. But I have to give him credit as a pundit. He's always been a very, very good pundit. I'm surprised he's not been on Sky, actually, just to cover some certain fights. What he says there about Dillian Whyte, I have to agree. You see, win or lose with Povetkin, it's going to be very difficult for Dillian Whyte to become heavyweight champion of the world. For argument's sake, let's say it's a 2-fight deal with AJ and Fury. Tyson Fury comes out on top, keeps his WBC title, Dillian Whyte gets a shot. I wouldn't pick Dillian Whyte over Tyson Fury personally. I think Tyson Fury would outbox Dillian Whyte. I think that Dillian Whyte... I think peak Dillian Whyte was probably maybe 2018. I don't know if we have a peak Dillian Whyte now. We have a Dillian Whyte now whose punch resistance has to be... I don't want to say suspect. We need to see how he looks against Povetkin, but it's had to have diminished even further. All right, and he was never granted chin to begin with, certainly not going into the Povetkin fight, but now you would imagine that it's diminished quite further. In terms of AJ, we've seen it. I reckon that AJ will beat Dillian Whyte convincingly, even more convincingly than he did the first. The first fight was tricky, but I reckon this time around if they fight, it will be relatively straightforward. What you could do is, you could wait around for those titles to become stagnant, because obviously when you're undisputed, you're not undisputed for very long before titles end up going all over the place in mandatories. That could be the case, in which case though you would imagine that Dillian Whyte would have to take interim fights. He'd have to, like, he's probably not even going to, if he wins against Povetkin on Saturday, he's not going to just sit on that title and wait for to get, or sit on that mandatory status and wait for his title shot. He's obviously going to want to take interim fights. Eddie Hearn is going to want to put him in good competitive fights. He's not just going to feed him to say another Lucas Brown or someone like that, someone who on paper, yeah, it's alright, but they've seen better days. I reckon they'll try and get the winner of Chisora versus Parker in there with Dillian Whyte next. And I used to say this about Dillian Whyte. If you go back to my channel about this time last year, whenever I done videos on Dillian Whyte, I didn't necessarily think it'd be Povetkin, but I always suspected that Dillian Whyte, before he gets his mandatory title shot, will lose. And like that, if he gets through Povetkin, I suspect that on the road to a title shot, he'll probably lose again. Now, if those titles become vacant and say he fights for an interim, say he fights for a WBA title or an IBF title, guys like Michael Hunter, Filip Hrgović, would you pick Dillian Whyte over them? I mean, certainly for me, I would make, say Michael Hunter, say he fights Michael Hunter for a vacant title, I'd pick Michael Hunter every day of the week over Dillian Whyte. Someone like Andy Ruiz, straight away pick him over Dillian Whyte. Hrgović, yeah, I would pick Hrgović over Dillian Whyte. You see, the thing you need to remember is that there's a lot of good up-and-coming heavyweights in this era, and there's a lot of good heavyweights in general. That's why I always find it bizarre when people say the heavyweights in this era aren't good. They would have got this. The heavyweights in this era are good. And if they all fight each other, we're going to get some very, very good competitive fights. We're going to get people trading wins. Facts. Right? So, when I look at Dillian Whyte, Should he have had a title shot by now? Yeah, he should have, but he's to blame himself for that. I mean, like, April 2019, AJ versus Dillian Whyte 2 in Wembley Stadium. Could have happened, didn't. Wasn't AJ's fault. That's it. That's a matter of fact, by the way. I remember some guy ages ago saying, that was bullshit. You know, AJ ducked Dillian Whyte. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. That was what Sky wanted, and it didn't happen, so they took Miller instead, and Miller ended up getting popped, and then Ruiz stepped in there. So that's what Dave Allen had to say. It's interesting. I have to agree with him on that. I can't see Dillian Whyte. I could be wrong. We're always interpret to be proven wrong, but in this era, I can't see Dillian Whyte. If he gets a title shot, happy days, but winning it's another story. And against 2 remains to be seen. Could a vacant title pop up and he fights someone who is not so good? We've seen that happen in the past, but I can't see that happening personally. You know, like imagine the WBA title becomes vacant and Helenius is number 1 and he happens to get in there and, you know, rematch Helenius. Yeah, possibly something like that could happen, but that's wishful thinking. That I can't see that happening. Those are my thoughts on this. Let me know what your thoughts on what Dave Allen said there. What do you think about Dave Allen as well? You think he's going to come back? Because I know on Instagram he's been alluding to the fact that he's trying to get himself back in shape just in case the phone rings. You know, you wouldn't be saying that if you weren't seriously thinking of it. So, let me know your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed the video, peeps. Subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video if you could. It does help your boy out. It helps me out big time. I hope you all enjoyed the video. I hope you've had a great day. And I'll talk to you.